it also includes a couple of recommendations and comparisons. This is not an HFY novel, and this is not under an HFY tag, which HFY stands for, if you don't know what HFY stands for, because it is in web novel circles and I think even in Reddit, HFY stands for humans fuck yeah, right? This is one where they praise humanity, very humanity-centric, human rights, space civilizations and, galactic civilizations in spacefaring novels. But in that sense, it's very similar to, it's got vibes similar to Human Altered. I haven't finished the book. I've only read to around, I think, chapter 67 or 70, but, that's decently far, and I think I've read enough chapters to get a sense of the book. And the other two that it could be possible, or ones that you might want to read, would be They Are Small, and there was another novel, I don't know the name of it, but I think it was Human Meat or Human Burgers Do Not Consume. Or maybe it was just Humans Don't Consume, right? Quick disclaimer, I'm going to be honest here, never read the last two on Royal Road Legends, now known as Royal Road. They're small in Human Burger, so they might not be HFY, but they, reading the summaries, they have maybe some similarities. Now some comparisons. It's very similar to protagonists and MCs and main characters to an amazing writer called Who Cares. It's a funny author name, and he wrote a very cool novel called Rewrite. Amazing novel. You can see it on Scribble Hub. I think he's published first on Royal Road Legends. Very, very similar MC, but different direction. And one story I always like to recommend is Omniscient Reader, one that I'm potentially wanting to do a debut on. But Omniscient Reader is by this author its author has two Korean characters I don't recognize, but the machine translation is Sinchon, and that's I think the given thing. I apologize if I didn't read the name correctly. I don't understand Korean. Two more things, but this is more of a major note. One last note, one of the two last notes is that this hasn't been logged into the database of novel updates, and because it hasn't been translated. So if there are any translators who want to pick this up, I highly encourage you to do so, right? It's so amazing that I really wanted to cover this novel as my debut summary and analysis. Instead, because there are definitely other giants I could have covered, like The Great Storyteller on web novel, any of the Ling novels by Ling Ting Tao. The winner's King is a great one, which is abbreviated to TWIK, or The Godfather Champions, which I think is an abbreviation of GOC, but I don't think anyone uses that. Blue Butterfly's King's Avatar, which TKA, I think a lot of people have seen the anime, it's pretty famous, and more. But I wanted to focus on one that I would be proud in, and I thought this would be great to debut. And the last thing I want to mention is it's another return to the past. It's a do-over novel, as one might call it. But it's, how most do-over novels, if you've read some web novels, have a lot of business aspects involved, tycoon aspects involved. But it really tones down less of that, and it's got more of the drama aspects to it. And so that really concludes most of my quick summary, and I go more into analysis and the rest. And spoilers abound. What I do is I go into the volume chapters and drama, and analysis as well on a little bit of drama. Very minor spoilers, but, that might not be something you want to hear. So I might split the video here. Now going on to some analysis and spoilers on the drama tag. Very minor. Extremely minor, of course. I don't think it'll impact your reading, but, very sensitive about that thing. One note on the level of drama. It's been toned down by one of the organizations in China, which some people would call the Chinese Censorship Committee. The Chinese Literature Regulation Committee. One of those fancy Chinese naming systems that they used in Soviet Russia and even now. I don't like to talk much about it just because I don't like deriding people, organizations, and it's one of those organizations. It's one of those organizations, and it's one of those organizations that if you mention their name, you get on their radar. Especially if you do a Google search, right? It's like, why are you searching this term? Why do you need to know this, right? Need to know basis. And just to get any curious parties in trouble, I do put some interesting links in the Google document below. Give me one quick second. I do put a lot of those information in the Google documents below, like the CIA, FBI, But some acronyms that you could search up, equally search up to get yourself in trouble, just like I did, and they might like put you on a list, would be international and U.S. Mostly sticking to U.S. though. International might be like Interpol, MI5, MI6, GSG, CS:GO terms and whatnot, or Rainbow Six Siege. But U.S. ones would be the CIA, FBI, NSA, the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission, AEC. Those ones I'm kind of really scared of, or at least it was interesting. FCC, the Federal Communications, FTC, Federal Trade, IRS. Just a little bit more. DOJ, DOD, NGIS. That's an interesting one. Navy Intelligence and SIGINT. As I said before, if you want to see more, I put a lot in the credits documents, and you can search it to learn more. And a whole slew of other government acronyms. Like EU has their own Interpol, I think. But yeah, because all of these novels are on a GDM platform, and they're all in China, right? They are regulated, and I think they're covered under the China state-run General Administration of Press and Publication. I'm pulling a lot of this information from Wikipedia, by the way, and I think the Chinese title is 新闻出版总署新闻出版总署. I think that's right. And just a really quick breakdown, what I guess it is. 新闻 is definitely news. 出版 is probably what they're releasing. 总 is type, and then 署 is probably the organization, or probably organization. I'm looking at organization. And they do have an internet section as well, but that's the paper and literature, press and publication. So I guess that'd be the organization they'd be covered under. But they are also covered under. There's also an separate internet censorship as well, or regulation committee. And that would be the. Sorry, give me one quick second. That would be the Cyberspace Administration Security of China. And there's a couple of other ones as well, but I know Xi Jinping ran reading from Wikipedia. Xi Jinping ran a couple of campaigns in 2013, and they've really cleaned up the online publishing industry in China. One of the terms that people would call it would be the Great Firewall, because China's good at building walls, and one wall they built is the internet. And so one of the works that got caught in the crossfire, quite a famous novel and example, is IRAS, which stands for I Really Am a Superstar. Really big work. A lot of Western influences. I think the author's name, I don't know the pronunciation, but I'm going to give my best guess. It's Tang Yu, which the English translation has been tasty. And there's a cool CK Talon photos and whatnot in the credits document, and probably on screen. But the Chinese idiom goes, you kill the chicken to scare the monkey, right? Or in English, it would be made an example of, right? So Iris, this novel was made an example of just for some of the questionable things they found in the book. A lot of the romantic intimacy and interactions, no drug use, but they really want to differentiate themselves from like Hollywood, where they commercialize, and capitalism, they commercialize, sometimes drug use, cigarettes, and I think cigarettes is okay though. Drinking, alcoholism, drug abuse, they don't really encourage that. And then romantic interactions and intimacy, right? They try and regulate that a little bit more. And ever since they shut down Cang Yu and his IRAS, I Really Am a Superstar, the whole scene became more tame. Like, people weren't, I don't want to say we're not afraid to step out of line, because people still do. But it's more the fact that, they kind of knew that there were some things that they weren't supposed to write, is the best way to put it. So in the story, the romantic interactions have been taken down a notch. So you might find in the drama scenes, the romantic scenes, the author wasn't able to write a lot of intimate scenes, a lot of romantic intimacy, and a lot of intimate actions, right? A couple come to mind. I'm not going to say whether he writes them really well or not, but I'm just going to say that there were some really great moments in general. But what this does is it really puts the focus on science fiction, and I really enjoyed reading the science fiction. That's why I stayed. That's why I kept reading this. Now you'll get to some of my analysis in the volumes. Although the science fiction is great, the drama is what really makes it so amazing to reread multiple times over, second, third, and fourth time. I've only read it twice, of course, just because it takes a lot of time. But in the story, and by the author, you can still find like maybe I think you could still find just hints of romantic interaction. In my personal opinion, of course, it could be more than what I think. But I have my own thoughts about like romantic interaction in books. Again, analysis video. That's saving that for analysis video. But those romantic interactions that seem just quite innocent. And so that really concludes the drama spoiler section. Really a lot, just more background information. And this is more for BTS audio. As I said before, I generally record these things in full. First time, this is probably my second full video, but then again, my videos are like 30 minutes to an hour long. That's the audio clips I work with because I'm an idiot. So yeah, I felt that, well, when I first started, the first time I tried to record audio, I recorded for like 3 or 4 hours straight. My voice throat wasn't used to it. I haven't talked to people that long. So I kind of ruined my voice a little bit. Or just, yeah. So I recorded the audio for like 3 hours and I kept re-recording like this 1 hour period. And this audio itself is, I think, going to run 2 hours. And every time I recorded and I got it wrong, I deleted the audio and I re-recorded. I originally wanted to save everything, but I realized that saving everything not only would take a lot of storage, but it would take so much time to listen and edit, and I just didn't have the time. So I deleted all of it, knowing that I would chalk it up to what I call experience. Even in Chinese, they would call it a learning fee, right? You have to do something to gain experience. And eventually it came out to the audio recording you get to now. Although it may not be perfect, I think it's the best accumulation of all the attempts I've did. So in total, I probably recorded around I'd say I'd highball it at 20 hours, but it's probably closer to 5-10 hours in total. Although with the length and time I've put into this, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 20 hours. So yeah, that really is some of the background of my voice and so not my voice, my recordings. And so yeah, that ends this video in BTS.